Thus far, we've just showed the simplest way of using console.WriteLine, writing out a given string expression. We can make that string expression more elaborate using the plus symbol for concatenation. Here's a thought where you could do that. As an elaboration of the Hello World program, we could greet the user and prompt the user for the user's name. Suppose the user enters Kim. The program could personalize the response and say, "Hello, Kim!" exclamation point. This is a very simple input, process, output program. That's a very simple pattern. Getting input from the user, processing it, and then outputting the results. There's very little process in this case. Think how you would do this just using the plus operator. You can stop. We're going to show it in a moment. The idea of substituting in the name here sort of fits in with something you may have had in grade school exams or something. Fill in the blank. Hello blank. And the idea is, of course, that while hello is given and the exclamation point is given, you can fill in something dynamically here where the blank is. Now we can generate such a combination using the concatenation plus operation. Here's a solution for the program referred to above in helloU1.cs. Here's the code embedded right here in the text. We prompt the user for the name and get a name back from reading the line, and then we concatenate the various pieces, the canned phrase with hello, then we concatenate on the name provided by the user and tack on then the final exclamation point. This is one way of doing this. Now we're going to introduce another way. This variation is in helloU2.cs. Let's have a look. Again, we prompt the user. Again, we get the result. The only change is here where the console.WriteLine parameters are different. Let's have a look. Notice here that we have a string, but that's not the only parameter. In this case, there's one additional parameter. There could be more than one. We'll illustrate that shortly. In the previous version, each of the canned parts was a separate literal string, and we concatenated in the parts where we were making a substitution in there from a variable. The alternative here is to have just a single literal string. It includes both of the canned parts, hello here, and the exclamation point. And this is more in the form of the fill in the blank. In place of the blank here, we have braces, and there's a number inside here. Let's explain that. Implicitly, the parameters that come after this string here are numbered. Like other sequences in C#, sequences are numbered from 0 as the starting index. And so here I've just got one parameter, but its number is 0. The 0 here means substitute the value of this parameter. That's basically fill in the blank or the braces using this value. The result is the same as in the version with the concatenation up here. We can illustrate it briefly. Here, this is one of my example programs, helloU2.cs. If I'm on a Windows system, so I right-click here and run the item. And so it's asking for my name. I can say Andy, and it prints out hello, comma, plugging in Andy and the exclamation point. That's the same as we would have done with the concatenation version 1. Again, I repeat that everything that is in the initial string but outside of the braces is just repeated verbatim. In particular, if the parameter is a string with no braces, it's just printed completely verbatim, and that's the version of console.WriteLine that we used before. Consider multiple parameters and try a more elaborate and silly example. Suppose we've got 3 string variables declared, Peter, Piper, and Pick, for the first, last, and what. And here I have a console.WriteLine. Again, it starts with a parameter that is a string. Now it has several other parameters. Again, these are implicitly numbered 0, 1, and 2. You'll notice that my string here has the braces, making this a format string. So where there's a 0, I insert the first one. Where there's a 1, I insert here. And again, I go back and insert this. Then I insert this again. And finally, where there's a 2 here, I insert this. And of course, here are the values of those 3 variables. And so it would print Peter, Piper, comma, from here, the literal part, Peter, Piper, Pick. I can test this in C#. Here I've got a window open, pasting it in. This is the long system you need in Windows. Let's see what happens. Peter, Piper, Pick. Here's another example. You can try this one in C# if you like. I print the result in any case. So here is one with arithmetic. We have integer variables. We print out various arithmetic statements. This also illustrates some other features. Notice here that I have an expression here very clearly with the plus sign for the arithmetic operations. So the parameters can be expressions, as that's true in general with parameters. They get evaluated first and the value is used. So for instance, this is the sum of 7 plus 5. The parameters can be of any type. Int's fine, other things are fine too. And they of course get converted to their string form to be embedded in the string. What I've done so far could have been done totally using the concatenation operator plus. This is probably a little shorter here where we reuse things, but certainly you could recast this with just the plus operator. We're going to continue to use these format strings with the braces, even though they aren't necessary at the moment, because in later section here, you can see this link, we're going to add features to these format strings that are not easily reproduced just with the concatenation operator. So we want to get used to doing these substitutions inside the braces. A final technical point. Whenever we've got specialized characters, the brace having a special meaning, there's a problem when you actually want to include that character in your string. And like the backslashes for the escape code, you can double the braces, either the open or the close brace here, if you want one to literally appear. So here, where I've got double brace, will turn into a single brace. Then this is a substitution, this is a substitution, and then the final double brace turns into a single brace. And so here's what this produces. Now, if you think about it, we've used WriteLine in different senses. It can take a single parameter. We've mostly used strings, maybe sometimes numbers. In fact, it can be of any type. And it converts it to a string and prints it. But we've just recently illustrated that it can take a string parameter followed by any number of parameters that we use to substitute in to the initial format string. Another case that we haven't used yet, but is also possible, is that it can take no parameters, and that just advances to the next line, because remember, we have the write line. So the name here, WriteLine, actually refers to multiple functions, but it is legal to use just the single name WriteLine. This is a feature of C# and many other languages called overloading. When C# looks at a function call, it looks not only at the name, it also looks at the number and types of the parameters. And all of those together, the name and the numbers and types of parameter, define the signature of a function, and that distinguishes one function from another, even if they have the same name. If they have different setups of parameters, as you will look like these three examples did, then C# can distinguish them and call the proper version of the function. Now, that's all it's required technically for C#, just different numbers and types of parameters where we define these functions. But in practice, this only makes sense if the uses are closely related, or this use of overloading would be totally confusing.